What if I told you that America's president has been defying his doctors for 25 years and that the evidence is literally written all over his hands? This isn't speculation. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is a confession that came straight from Donald Trump's own mouth, reported by the Wall Street Journal and covered extensively by Daily Mail UK.
But before I reveal what Trump confessed to, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked closely at Trump's hands in recent photos? I mean, really looked at them. Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll never look at him the same way again. Stick around, because this story has more twists than a Hollywood thriller. Let's start with a number. 82 years and 7 months. That's how old Donald Trump will be if he completes his second term in January 2029. According to Daily Mail, Trump is already the oldest person to ever assume the office of the presidency. He set that record in 2016, then Joe Biden broke it in 2020, and now Trump has shattered it again with his 2024 victory. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a man who will be in his early 80s running the most powerful nation on earth. So naturally, you'd expect him to be following his doctor's advice religiously, right? Taking care of his health, listening to medical professionals, playing it safe? Wrong. Dead wrong. In a stunning interview with the Wall Street Journal, reported by Daily Mail on January 2, 2026, Trump revealed something that his doctors have been begging him to stop for years. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to understand why this is such a big deal. Trump admitted that he takes 325 milligrams of aspirin every single day. Now, if you're not familiar with aspirin dosages, let me put this in perspective. The Mayo Clinic recommends a low dose of approximately 81 milligrams for heart health. Trump is taking 4 times that amount. 4 times. But here's where it gets really interesting. Trump said, and I quote, "I'm a little superstitious. They say aspirin is good for thinning out the blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. I want nice, thin blood pouring through my heart." Does that make sense? Now, on the surface, that sounds almost reasonable. Aspirin does thin blood. It does help prevent heart attacks. But what Trump conveniently left out is that his doctors have been telling him for years to lower his dose, and he's been ignoring them for 25 years. 25 years of taking 4 times the recommended dose. But why does this matter? What's so dangerous about taking extra aspirin? Well, according to medical experts cited by Daily Mail, taking higher dosages of aspirin significantly increases the severity of side effects, especially in older patients. We're talking about internal bleeding in the stomach, intestinal hemorrhaging, and brain bleeding. But there's one side effect that's particularly visible, and this is where our story takes a fascinating turn: excessive bruising. Now stay with me here, because this is where things get really wild. Daily Mail reports that Trump's hands are often pictured with what they describe as a glob of cover-up makeup, and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt actually confirmed this. She said the makeup is concealing bruising, which she claims is from Trump regularly shaking people's hands. But let's think about that explanation for a moment. Shaking hands causes bruising? Enough bruising that you need to apply thick layers of concealer to hide it? That doesn't add up unless your blood is dangerously thin from taking 4 times the recommended dose of aspirin. And here's the kicker. Daily Mail reports that Trump has taken to applying concealer and foundation to cover up the discoloration on his hands, though the makeup often doesn't match his skin tone and is just as obvious as the bruising itself. Imagine that. The President of the United States applying makeup to his hands before public appearances to hide the physical consequences of ignoring his doctors. But wait, because this story gets even more unbelievable. According to Daily Mail, in July 2024, something happened at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee that perfectly illustrates just how fragile Trump's skin has become. Attorney General Pam Bondi was celebrating with Trump, and they went for a high five. Her ring, just her ring, barely nicked Trump's hand, and it bled profusely. Daily Mail reports that Trump's skin had become so fragile from the blood-thinning effects of the aspirin that this minor contact caused significant bleeding. And here's what really tells you how much this bothered Trump. He apparently brings up this bloody incident constantly to his White House aides. Constantly. Think about what that means. The President of the United States obsessing over a high five that made him bleed because it revealed just how fragile his health really is. But the aspirin story is just the tip of the iceberg. Daily Mail uncovered a whole pattern of health issues and concerning behaviors that paint a much bigger picture. Let me walk you through them. First, there's the compression socks incident. According to Daily Mail, Trump briefly wore compression socks for swollen ankles. Swollen ankles are a common sign of circulation problems in elderly patients. But then he just stopped wearing them. Why? Because according to the Journal's reporting, he didn't like them. He didn't like how they looked or felt, so he just stopped medical devices that his body clearly needed. Second, there's the sleep issue. Daily Mail reports that multiple sources say Trump runs on minimal sleep while maintaining what they call a rigorous schedule. Now, Trump claims he's always gotten by on little shut-eye, but here's what's interesting. Despite his denials, there are photographs, actual photographic evidence of Trump with his eyes closed during White House events and cabinet meetings. Daily Mail specifically mentions that pictures have frequently emerged showing the president struggling to keep his eyes open during White House events. But when asked about this, Trump flat out denies it. He insists he doesn't fall asleep, despite the photographic evidence. Third, and this is particularly concerning, there's the hearing problem. According to Daily Mail, some aides claim that they have to shout at meetings because Trump's hearing is declining. Again, Trump denies this, but multiple sources are saying the same thing. So we have a pattern here. Denial, denial, denial. Despite physical evidence, despite medical concerns, despite what people around him are seeing with their own eyes, Trump denies there are any problems. But this pattern of concealment goes back years. Daily Mail reports that for years, spanning back to his first-term COVID-19 diagnosis and colonoscopy, Trump has sought to conceal or downplay any conditions that could lead to speculation about his health. And here's where the story takes its most alarming turn. In October 2025, Trump underwent advanced cardiovascular and abdominal imaging at Walter Reed Medical Center. Routine procedure, right? Routine checkup, making sure everything's okay. But listen to what Trump told the Wall Street Journal about those scans. He said, quote, "In retrospect, it's too bad I took it because it gave them a little ammunition. I would have been a lot better off if they didn't, because the fact that I took it said, oh, gee, is something wrong? Well, nothing's wrong." Read between those lines. He regrets getting the scans, not because they were uncomfortable, not because they took too much time, but because they gave people ammunition, because they revealed something that Trump clearly doesn't want people talking about. If nothing was wrong, why would he regret getting the scans? Why would simple medical imaging give anyone ammunition unless it showed something concerning? Now, let's talk about Joe Biden for a moment, because Daily Mail makes a comparison that's absolutely chilling. Remember all the criticism Biden faced over his health during his presidency? The concerns about his mental acuity? The questions about whether he was fit to lead? Biden was 82 when his presidency ended in January 2025. According to Daily Mail, just 4 months after leaving office, Biden announced in May 2025 that he was diagnosed with an aggressive stage of prostate cancer that had metastasized to his bones, stage 4. And here's what makes this so disturbing. Daily Mail reports that medical experts were doubtful the diagnosis really happened after he was out of office. Why? Because presidents' health is closely monitored throughout their term, and the cancer was already advanced to stage 4. That level of advancement doesn't happen overnight. The experts suggested it was likely present during his presidency. So Biden was running the country with stage 4 cancer, and either he didn't know it or it was being hidden from the public. Now Trump is approaching that same age. He's taking 4 times the recommended dose of aspirin. His hands are bruised, so he needs makeup to hide them. His skin is so fragile a minor contact causes bleeding. He had medical scans he regrets taking. And his response to all of this? According to Daily Mail, instead of listening to medical advice, the 82-year-old president says he's relying on what he calls his good genetics. That's his health plan, good genetics. Let's look at what that health plan actually involves. Daily Mail reports that Trump's only apparent physical activity is regularly golfing. His diet? They describe it as sodium and fat heavy, consisting of fast food like McDonald's and Diet Coke. In fact, according to Daily Mail, Trump even kept his red button in the Oval Office from his first term, the button that summons an aide to bring him a soda on command. So let me paint the full picture for you based on Daily Mail's reporting. We have a 79-year-old president who takes 4 times the recommended dose of aspirin against medical advice, who covers his bruised hands with makeup before public appearances, whose skin is so fragile that minor contact causes bleeding, who stopped wearing compression socks for swollen ankles because he didn't like them, who runs on minimal sleep and has been photographed apparently dozing during official events, who potentially has hearing problems that aides have to work around, who regrets getting medical scans because they gave people ammunition, and whose health plan consists of fast food, occasional golf, and good genetics. Daily Mail points out that people close to the president say he is publicly and privately showing signs of aging. But Trump's response is to deny, conceal, and continue defying medical advice. Here's what really gets me about this story. It's not just about one man's health choices. This is about transparency. This is about whether the American people have a right to know the true health status of the person leading their country. According to Daily Mail's reporting, Trump has a documented history of trying to conceal health issues. His COVID diagnosis, his colonoscopy, his recent medical scans that he now regrets. There's a clear pattern of minimizing, hiding, and denying. And look, I want to be fair here. Getting older is not a crime. Having health issues is not a disqualification from office. But knowingly taking 4 times the recommended dose of medication, ignoring your doctors, and then covering up the physical consequences with makeup while denying there are any problems, that raises serious questions. Daily Mail reports that Trump will be 82 years old and 7 months old if he serves through January 2029. That's a fact. And based on everything reported by Daily Mail and the Wall Street Journal, we have legitimate reasons to be concerned about whether he's being honest about his health. The bruised hands hidden with makeup aren't a conspiracy theory. The excessive aspirin dose isn't speculation. The bloody high five incident isn't made up. These are facts reported by reputable news sources and in many cases confirmed by Trump himself or by White House officials. So here's my question for you, and I really want you to think about this. Should there be mandatory, transparent health disclosures for presidents? Should we know exactly what medications they're taking, what doses, and whether they're following medical advice? Or is this a private matter between a president and their doctor? Because right now, based on Daily Mail's reporting, we have a president who's been defying medical advice for 25 years, whose physical health is visibly deteriorating in ways he's trying to hide, and whose own words suggest that recent medical tests revealed concerning information. The oldest president in American history is covering his bruised hands with makeup, betting his health on genetics, and hoping nobody asks too many questions about those scans he regrets taking. Thanks for watching.